Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, August the 28th, 2025. Thursday, August the 28th. Not a lot of action today, everybody, but people showing their hands, some movements going on. I like the direction, where it went today. So let's dive right into it. Now, Drew decides he's going to Michael. He thinks he could blackmail Michael by saying the day before your custody hearing happened, over $1 million was deposited into the judge's bank account. And Michael just looked at him. He said, "So we all know who did that." Michael's still sitting behind his desk and he's like, actually, no, we don't know. Oh, yeah, your father, Sonny Corinthos. He bribed the judge. See, because there's no reason that judge wouldn't have given Willow partial custody of her kids. You should never have gotten full custody. Michael's just looking at him because Michael was actually holding it down at Aurora, sitting behind the desk, and he goes, "So here's what you're going to do. You are going to take Willow's kids over to her today, and you are going to tell her and the kids that you made a mistake in keeping them apart all of this time. And then you're going to call the judge and say you've changed your mind and you want 50, you want to share custody with Willow 50-50." And Michael says, "Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to use all of my resources to put an investigation in. And, your father is going to prison." So Michael looked at him and he stood up and he was going to the door to show Drew the door. And he goes, "So you better think wisely, Michael, and you don't have a lot of time before I do what's necessary." And Michael said, "You know what? If you had proof that my father bribed the judge, you'd be waving that proof in my face." Which he would, right? Michael said, "You got nothing. If this even happened," he goes, "because you're probably lying, Drew." And Drew says, "Oh, I'm going to get the proof." And Michael says, he goes, "I'm going to get the proof. And you're going to wish you took my offer today." And Michael was going to open the door, but he didn't. He turned around. I said, "Don't hit him, Michael. Don't hit him." Right? He said, Drew, he said, "No, I won't." He says, "As a matter of fact, you have made a big mistake because after today's stunt," he says, "I'm going to call the judge and I'm going to have that," and he meant Diane, right? "And have that hearing pushed back indefinitely. So, Uncle Drew," and he patted him on his sleeve there. He goes, "So, Uncle Drew, once again, you have cost Willow her children." And Drew just looked at him and he goes, You're gonna regret this, Michael. And Michael's like, no, I'm not. And Drew walks out, and Michael puts his hand on the desk and he looks back at the door. Drew's gone, right? But he gave that look like, I'm gonna have to take him down. And it wasn't the I'm gonna have to take him out. It's a I'm gonna have to figure out how to take him down. He's gonna have, and Michael can do it. Michael is a thinker. See, it's just he hit Drew because he upset Wiley. He used his son to try to get to him. See, that's enough to make any parent flip out, right? But when it comes to you coming at me head on, okay, you think. It's too bad Michael wasn't recording this because Drew's like, I'm gonna use all my resources. Michael owns a media company. Michael has more money than Drew has. Okay. Only thing Drew had, and oh, Drew tells him, he goes, look, and when the investigation is opened up in Judge, whatever her name is, and that money is discovered in her bank account, gonna have her disbarred. Her ruling will be overturned. And I am in a position to where I can have a say in the judge that's appointed over the case. And Michael's just looking at him like, no, you don't. You could try. You could try. See, because now Drew always shows his hand. What did Michael tell Curtis? Drew shows his hand and he gets cocky. And he got cocky right there. He goes, then I'm going to get a judge that's favorable to doing what I say. And then you're going to be lucky if you get every other weekend and 2 weeks out of the summer. So Michael just looks at him and he's thinking, okay, so now I'm going to have Diane, if this judge gets disbarred, we going to do a deep dive in whatever judge is appointed. And if we see any ties to Drew, they're going to have that judge taken off because of bias. Mm-hmm. Big mouth Drew, right? But one thing Michael said, Drew says, oh, I'm going to have all the evidence that I need. That's what Drew said to Michael. And Michael looked at him, he says, or you're going to make it up. He says, you're not above fabricating all the evidence. And when he said that, I don't know about you, but I kind of got the impression Michael knows about Drew wanting to have his blood work tampered with. I honestly believe that they just haven't shown us the scene where Curtis did tell him. I can't see Curtis not telling him something as important as that. If he does, what a huge letdown. If he does. But anyway, let's talk about the judge. I thought about this, y'all. The judge she had the $1 million, Sidwell sent the $1 million into a crypto account. See, here's the thing. Crypto accounts are private, anonymous, and they're peer-to-peer. But do you notice in the dialogue, they keep saying it hit the judge's bank account? Crypto deposits don't hit a bank account. They don't. They would have to know the exact address that the judge has that she holds her cryptocurrency in. Now, Sidwell knows it because he sent it to her, right? But in order for Sidwell to get it out there, that this is the wallet that the money's crypto wallet, that the money went to the judge's crypto wallet, and it would have to be proven that that crypto wallet was the judge's wallet. There are no names on that. That's why people use cryptocurrency. It's anonymous, right? The judge could easily, unless she was an idiot, and I can't believe a judge would be an idiot like that. Unless she was an idiot, she took it from crypto land, blockchain, anonymous land, and sent it to her bank. What fool would do that? Right? So that's a big hole in that whole transaction story. But like Sidwell said, it doesn't have to be proved that it was Sunny, but it will be believed that it was Sunny. Well, no, how would people even know? All the judge has to say is, that's not my crypto wallet. Because an amount that big, she better be holding it on a hard what you know what? I'm not going into all that because y'all know look, I know a little bit about cryptocurrency. Not saying I have it, but I know a bit about it. So anyway, I just really thought about that. I said, well, that ain't right. That's not how it would happen. And nobody would know that judge has that money. Nobody. So anyway, um, he called Sonny. Sonny went to go check on Stella. He went to the PCPD with Alexis and Trina to check on Stella. I need your help in Comic Cornerland. What did Stella do for Sonny? Why is Sonny feeling protective of Stella? I don't know. I can't remember an incident that he would feel protective towards Stella because he went in to offer his help to Stella. And Stella's like, she appreciated it, but she told him no, just stay out of it, right? And because he came out and he told Alexis, because he told Trina, your Aunt Stella is waiting to see you. So he went in before Trina. And Alexis says, what did she say? He goes, she thanked me, but she told me to stay out. She goes, Sonny, you're toxic right now. Yeah, you do need to, she's right. You need to steer clear. He said, but this is getting out of hand. Drew's fingerprints are all over the Stella situation. They're all over Michael's situation. He's causing trouble for Michael. And Alexis goes, oh, and remember, he's causing trouble for me too. She's like, don't forget me. See, I don't want to know what you're going to do. And I'm not telling you to do nothing bad like bound and gag him in a basement somewhere. Okay, I'm not saying that, Sonny. But don't forget, Drew's making trouble for me as well. Sonny looked, he goes, Drew Kane is going to have to be dealt with. We're getting all these threats, right? So we have then Michael calls Sonny and Sonny comes over and he goes, thanks for getting here so fast. And Sonny said, you said it was urgent. He said, Drew's coming after me and my kids. And Sonny looked at him. He says, there's supposedly be evidence that you bribed the judge in my child custody case, divorce and custody case. And Sonny looked at Michael. He said, I absolutely did not do that. And Michael said, I know you didn't. He says, I don't even know if what Drew was saying was even true. He said, but he was trying to get me to call the judge and change the custody arrangement. And he was trying to get me to say, I'm going to take my kids to Willow tonight. He said, it's not happening. So he says, but for him to go down that road, there must be something in the works regarding that in the judge. And so Sonny said, okay, all right, then we got to think. Who would bribe the judge? He said, because it wasn't me, but who would do it? I know Sonny's already thinking Sidwell, but he's trying to think what angle would Sidwell have? But no, he sees the angle. The angle is to frame me. I mean, to make it look like I did this, right? And now the judge's decision could get overturned. So Sonny said, okay, so here's what we have to do. I know who knows who did it. And Michael said, who? He goes, the judge. We got to find Judge, whatever her name is, Caldwell. I made that up, y'all. We got to find Judge Caldwell. And we gonna make her tell who did this. So Michael's like, okay. He says, we got to get, Sonny says, we got to get to her fast. So Marco comes waltzing into his father's place. And he goes, Marco, what are you doing back so soon, son? You know? And he goes, I did something and I have to tell you about it. You're not going to like it. So he puts his file down. What did you do? And he goes, I made a move against Sonny Corinthos. And Sidwell, wait, you did what? I told Congressman Kane about the judge being bribed. Sidwell almost burst a blood vessel. He said, why would you do that? Because Sonny Corinthos needs to be dealt with. That's why. And you're dragging your feet. He goes, there is a plan in place. That this was not the time to do that. It was crucial that it be done in the right time. He goes, well, the right time is now. He goes, my mother's death has to be dealt with. And Sidwell said, you are thinking with your heart and not your head. He says, I need Sonny Corinthos' peers. And Marco looked at him and said, I don't give a darn about Sonny Corinthos' peers. And Sidwell looked at him, you know, because see, Marco knows his father is running illegal businesses, but Marco doesn't know the ins and outs to those illegal businesses. He doesn't, right? And Sidwell says, you have now messed up the plan. You have, shown our hand, Marco. Now I have to come up with another plan. He says, and I have got to get to that judge fast before Sonny Corinthos gets to that judge. He says, the authorities need to get to the judge, and the judge needs to tell them that I did it. And Marco said, wait, why would you want it to come out that you did it? He said, it's better it come out that way than Sonny Corinthos gets a hold of her first. And nobody knows. He goes, because then he says, because Marco, you and I are going to be behind the barrel. Okay? And it's going to be bad. And Marco just looked at his father. Because, see, what he's saying is, look, if the authorities know that I did it, I'll answer for it, but it'll be a very public thing. So if Sonny tries to take him out, it'll look like Sonny took him out for trying to frame it. But if Sonny finds out, Sonny's going to make sure nobody else does and take them out. Right? And Marco just looked at him. And Sidwell said, now I've got to come up with something else, son. And I thought, yeah, poor thing. Good. Good. You got a hot head. You're going to think twice about wanting your son in the business with you. because he'll look at you and say, that's not, I didn't feel that's what needed to be done. This is what I felt needed to be done. You ain't gonna like it, but here it is, daddy. So anyway, that was the Sidwell and Marco situation. Now, Portia. Let's talk about Portia and let's talk about Isaiah. Jordan comes back to the hospital and she walks up to Isaiah. She says, Isaiah, do you know where Curtis and Portia are? And he goes, Curtis is in his wife's office. And Jordan looked like, well, heck, I said both, right? you know? And he says, uh, she goes, I've got some information on Aunt Stella that I need to tell them both. Really, Jordan? Really? And it has to be you? And she looks at him like, what are you talking about? He said, you couldn't have got this information to them any other way. And Jordan says, no, I'm going to give them an update. And where is this coming from? Oh, and then he goes, I saw you at the park last week. And you and Curtis, you still have feelings for Curtis. And she goes, I don't know what you think you saw at the park, but Curtis is a married man, and I have never crossed the line with Curtis. And I was thinking, well, you actually did. But that was right after he first got married and found out that Trina was his. Remember, she kissed him and she told Zeke. Actually, she kissed him. No, he was not married. When she kissed Curtis, Curtis was not married to Portia yet because Curtis, the night of their marriage is when he found out about Trina. Maybe she kissed him that night. But anyway, that's here nor there. She and Curtis have not just succumbed to their obvious love for one another, because it's obvious, right? That's one thing Isaiah's right about, but you know what? You little, serpent. You're trying to drive a wedge between Portia and Curtis so you could do just what you're doing right there, Isaiah. Just what you're doing. He says, Portia is worth more than that. I know, because when we were together, it was all, Curtis was between us. And she goes, Curtis was not between us at all when we were together. She says, Curtis and I are friends, and I have never hid that. We have been friends for years. Okay? We were friends before we got married, friends after we got married. So no, Curtis was not the reason you broke up. You know the exact reason, or the reason that we could not be seen together and why we broke up. She goes, and you know what? I didn't know you and Portia were that close. And he says, Portia brought me into the hospital. She, made me blah, 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 right? I'm loving being a doctor here. Portia, oh, okay. Jordan should have really just took a look at what and how he was saying things. The problem was he was striking a chord. And Jordan knows she does love Curtis. Okay. But she still had her poker face on. And he goes, and anybody could see it. Because she goes, you may not have crossed the line or don't have feelings like that for Curtis, but can the same be said for Curtis about you? And Jordan looked at him, right? She's like, Isaiah, you don't know what you're talking about. So Curtis comes off the elevator, and this is after having and I'm so happy he said what he said to Portia. But my whole thing is Curtis is too wishy-washy, right? He will love to get off his chest, like she goes, He goes, Jordan, Portia, what was that about? What you said out there about me and my ex-wife? She goes, Jordan, you just want Jordan to save the day. It's always about you and Jordan. And he goes, my Aunt Stella's in trouble. Jordan has some connections. Jordan is trying to help. No, if it wasn't that, it's something else. It's always you two having to meet. You won't admit it. Still love Jordan. And Curtis looked at her and he says, Portia, I have tried. He says, I forgave you for Trina. Oh, I tried. No, she goes, I got past that and wanted to try with our marriage again. Then this whole situation with what you did with the blood results and everything, I tried to get past that. And he goes, but Portia, the problem is, he goes, and then Drew blackmailing you. It's this whole thing. See, then I had to get involved, and now Drew's targeting my Aunt Stella. And he looked at her, he goes, and it's all because of you. It's your fault. Oh, now you saying it. Oh, I knew this is how you really felt. He goes, yes, Portia, had you trusted me, he goes, but you know what? Now that I think about it, that's your default. Your default is lying. And she looked at him. She goes, 20 years ago when we met, you lied. You didn't tell me you were married. That came later. And she goes, oh, you gonna throw up something 20 years ago? He goes, yeah. He says, then Trina, you came into my life. Trina's in my orbit, and you still didn't tell me the truth. You lie, Portia. So he just brought it. She goes, see, he goes, every time I think I can push it down and move forward, you lie. And it comes right back just underneath the surface. I can't trust you, Portia. She goes, there you have it. That's the first honest thing you have ever said, is you've never really forgiven me and you never will. And he goes, that's because you always do something else, Portia. you know? And so she goes, well, no, that you telling the truth about that, or about your feelings. Why don't you tell the truth about your feelings with Jordan? He's like, Jordan has nothing to do with what you have done. He says, Jordan lied to me one time and I divorced her. You, on the other hand, Portia, you have lied to me over and over again. And I have still tried to work things out with you. She goes, for Trina? You haven't tried to work things out with me because you want to work things out with me. And he goes, okay, yeah, for Trina. He said, because of you, I lost years of her life, years of being her father because of you. So if I wanted to put up with you and try to make a family for my daughter, then yeah, Portia, for Trina. And so he turns towards the door. She goes, where are you going? He says, my Aunt Stella has been down at the police station and I should be there with her. I should not be here having this conversation. So she goes, no, of course, you would use any reason to leave. And he looked at her She goes, because you know I care about Stella. He looked at her. So he makes some more move towards the door. And she goes, if you walk out that door, then our marriage truly is over. And he looked at her like, girl, it ain't nothing but a thing. Because now it sounds like you want me to choose between you and my Aunt Stella. That's what it sounds like you want me to do. He didn't say that. That's what he's thinking. Because I know what Curtis was thinking, right? So he looks at her. He turns to the door, opens it, walks out the door, and almost slams it behind him himself. And I thought, good. Yes, Curtis, good for you. Good for you. So she's looking at the picture of him and her, and Portia does her Portia move, takes the picture. And she loves to yell so that everybody outside the next floor up, the whole 9 yards, can hear her having a tantrum in her office. She throws the picture against the wall, so glass is going everywhere. She takes off her wedding ring and throws it. And she's trying to get the band off, but I can't get this band off. Now, what had happened is Curtis went upstairs. He gets off the elevator. And remember, Isaiah was talking to Jordan about what are Curtis's feelings towards you. And he goes, Jordan, you're back. Do you have any updates? Right? And Isaiah said, see what I mean? And I thought, no, I don't see what you mean. Right? Isaiah. He goes off the nurse's station, walks by Curtis, gets on the elevator. You know where he's headed. See what I mean? Curtis says, what was that about? And Jordan looked at him and said, oh, don't even worry about it. Don't even think about that. She's thinking he's irrelevant and nothing, right? which is real. Okay. So she gives him the update that she found out about Stella, which for the life of me, I can't even remember what she told him. Okay. So anyway, I don't know. He goes in and Portia, no, get it off. My ring has kryptonite on it now. Get it off, get it off. And he goes, Portia. No, calm down, Portia. I can't get it. No, I'll help. Of course you're gonna help take her wedding band off. So he's holding her hands. And he slips it off. And he's like, here, like he has it in his hands. And she's looking at him like, I've been wanting to do this since I saw you in the physician's locker room in that towel. Isaiah, we got a signal going. See, talking to Jordan. No, anybody could see that. Even Aunt Stella saw it. Mm. So she's looking at him. Oh, and then she gets that head of his, pulls it in. He's pulling her in, and there they go. Now I don't know how far they're gonna go, but she's took off her doctor's coat, and he's got her over the round on the credenza. I'm surprised he's not over there on her desk, just swoop stuff off. That's what they always do. But we shall see who walks in on them. We shall see, right? But I just shook my head because see what'll happen. I don't know if it'll happen this time because Trina's on her way there. But Jordan is going to sleep with Isaiah. She's going to. And she's still going to try to get Curtis back. Because see what it is with Jordan and Curtis. I mean, Portia and Curtis. She just don't want Jordan to have him back. That's what it is. See, she worked against them when they were married. Curtis, Jordan shouldn't be keeping secrets from you. You feel she is? Oh, she probably is. You deserve so much better, Curtis. Mm-hmm. Like Jordan said. Oh, you mean like you came between my marriage to Curtis? Yeah, there we go. My whole thing is, yeah, I'm coming back for my husband. There you go. So anyway, we'll see what happens with them. Now, Brooklyn went to the PCPD and told Dante, I didn't know he still worked there, y'all. Did you? Because he was supposed to be checking security camera footage for Michael, right? How hard is that to do? So she tells him, Dante, she goes, oh, Chase isn't here. He goes, I'm not looking here for Chase. I'm here to talk to you about our son. And then she tells him and says, he needs you. He needs somebody. He's feeling alone because this is his mother's birthday. And Dante's like, oh, it's Camilla's birthday. You know, we forget they all grew up in the same neighborhood. So Dante goes over to the church. Gio had just said a prayer and he said amen. And Dante said amen too. And he turned and he looked at him. And Dante said, you know, hey Gio, do you mind if I join you? Or you mind if I sit out? And Gio said, it's a church. Anybody can come into a church. So he sits down. And Gio said, Brooklyn told you I was here, didn't she? And he goes, Brooklyn reminded me this was Camilla's birthday, which I should have remembered myself. I am sorry. Um, because Camilla's birthday always coincided with Labor Day. It followed, I mean, it was Labor Day followed. I should have known that. All the birthday parties that the Falconeries and the Cirillos threw for Camilla, and they lumped it in with a Labor Day party to make it bigger. He goes, I should have remembered. And he told a story about one of the birthday weekends. I'm not going to tell it because it's a little bit boring, but ultimately there was somebody's burning some fish. Everybody's in there yakking and complaining. So they had given Gio to Dante to hold in the living room while they sorted out the kitchen. All these women with their own opinions. And he says, here I am holding you. Didn't know what to do. It's kind of panicking. And Gio's kind of looking, he goes, I don't know if you remember this because you're probably too young, right? So anyway, I couldn't remember if Dante said that Gio started crying or he was just kind of agitated, right? But he said, Camilla came out and both of your eyes met. She smiled at you and you smiled right back. He said it was like nobody else was in that room but you two. He said, and I happily handed you over to your mother. you know. But anyway, Gio was kind of, first he was kind of, then he's like, see, we've got history. I've been around you your whole life. And Brooklyn too. They just didn't know, neither one of them, that Gio was theirs, right? So anyway, Gio says, well, you know what? It's getting late. I got to go. After they had a good talk, a real good talk. And Dante says, no, you're right. I have definitely taken up, enough of your time. He says, Gio, if you ever want to hear more stories of Camilla, you and I, you know, he says, I've got hundreds of them. And Gio said, looked at him, he goes, no offense, but I don't see myself wanting a relationship with you. And Dante looked at him and said, fair enough. Just know I'm here if you do. And Gio starts to walk down the aisleway there, and he turned and he goes, Dante. And Dante turned and looked at him. He said, if you would have known way back then that I was, oh, and Dante profusely apologized for the way he acted when Rocco got the alcohol poisoning. And Gio honestly believed Dante was sorry. He didn't hold it against him. But anyway, he goes, if you would have known way back then, what would you have done? And Dante looked at him. He said, you know, Gio, I would like to think that I would have stepped up. He said, but I never got that chance, so I don't know, which was a very honest thing. He says, so I don't know. But I would like to think that, him as a 18-year-old, but at this point, Gio was 12 when Camilla died, but when he was holding him as a baby, he wasn't 12. He was a little toddler, right? So Dante could have probably may have been 19 at the time, 18, 19. So that was really good. You know what's interesting to me, everybody? Just quick change. And my thing is, doggone it, if you're going to get a budget, get a budget. Olivia is this young man's grandmother. Olivia would remember today is Camilla's birthday. And Olivia should have came to that church. And she could have connected with her grandmother. It's just like Olivia doesn't exist. And I don't like that because that's a whole dynamic that we're lacking is the Olivia factor. We got Lois as the grandmother, yeah, but no, the Olivia factor. Olivia just might be one that could get through to Gio because she's no nonsense brass taxes, period. And I just feel it's a disservice to the storyline for them not to write Olivia dealing with Gio, right? Interacting with Gio. So now last but not least, we have Drew's on the phone. Chair in his chair. Willow. It's Drew. Yeah, I just want you to know. You could tell he's leaving a voice message. I just came from a meeting with Michael. And I just want you to know that it's looking more and more like you're going to have your kids back real, and he's getting to say real soon. And as he's saying that, Curtis comes in and pushes his hand down to hang up the phone because Drew's on his landline, right? Hangs up the phone, and Drew turns his chair, and Curtis, of course, Curtis is yet another one who threatens Drew's life. Yet another one. So when Drew left Michael's office, which was interesting, he told Kai, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to find out where Carly Spencer is. He's going to do something to get Carly all worked up. And Carly, unfortunately, she flies off the handle like there's no tomorrow, right? Carly is a wild card, and he knows it. But what's going to happen is Carly's going to end up threatening him too. I mean, it's the whole typical thing going on, y'all. And it's just so typical. Okay. But that's it, everybody. That's it for, like I said, no action, wham, bam, pack, but it did move. It did definitely move. So I'm going to go to Comment Corner. I know, y'all, I did put a video of the voice line for Tuesday's comments and Wednesday's comments. It was 2 comments each day. So no, maybe 4 comments one day to another. It was 6 comments altogether. So I'm going to go to my trusty dusty timer, and we're going to go from the bottom up, and it starts with Black Purple Turquoise, who gave a nice long comment, everybody. You could go ahead and read that. I'm going to only read part of the paragraph, because I'm only going to do about 5 minutes, where Black Purple Turquoise says, Willow did everything today that I knew she eventually would, and I fully expected her to do where Drew is concerned. She's a lost cause truly, and she got to go. I mean, she's truly worse than Nell. Here, I mean, her, she's her meaning Nell. She's a psychopath and eventually saw coming after a while because she stopped pretending to be a version of herself that she never was going to be. Willow was always so much more dangerous in this aspect because she always hid behind a fake, non-existent angelic persona, carefully crafted to manipulate people to get them to do whatever she wanted. Presently, she's not angry because her and Drew got exposed and have been caught for everything they did. Well, I don't know about everything. The Daisy situation hasn't come out simply because she's not sorry for it whatsoever. I did the whole paragraph. Okay, there's more comments there. Great comments, Black Purple Turquoise. Now I'm going to scroll up. Oki says, Alexis is funny. Be a good boy, she said to Rick. NLG is her. I don't know what NLG means. I'm bad with those little acronyms, y'all. NLG, what's that? Kathleen says, she made me laugh today. Yep, that's Alexis, right? Oki also says, Robert was a handsome son of a gun. P. Merle says he was, and that accent made him super sexy. And Melody says, and charismatic. And Oki says to Melody, man, I have been the lover of Luke / Robert and birthed kids for both. Really? Holly made out like a bandit. Oh, with Luke and Robert both after her, right? And all her lying. Let me scroll up. I'm gonna go past you, Oki, because I've already read comments from you, but great interaction. Magdalena says, daily recap lady, today's episode was thank you for showing Christian's picture, or was maybe great. Thank you for showing Christian's picture. I love the Alexis and Rick scene. That was great. Ava is going to give Rick those sleeping pills. Yes, she is. And I didn't mention the sleeping pills. She got Lucas to, get her maybe I did, a 30-day amount of prescription sleeping pills. And he said, no refill, right? I can see that coming. There goes Willow with Drew. I see disaster coming for Stella being arrested. Oh, what I didn't talk about was Stella being arrested. They're still there, but Alexis is waiting because what they did is they hauled her in, trying to railroad Stella. Alexis comes in first when she said, I need to go in and see my client. And the other agent or auditor, or whatever they are, said she's busy in there with, agent so-and-so. And Alexis says, you denying her counsel? And Sonny looks at him and said, you don't want there to be a problem here, do you? Denying somebody counsel? And he goes, well, she's in with somebody. And Alexis says, I tell you what, he comes out and I go in, right? So he goes, okay, fine, whatever, right? And Trina's like, thank you so much. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, when Alexis is looking over the paperwork, when the agent came back in, she says, well, would you look here? There's no judge's signature on this page. And there's no judge's signature. She flips over another couple pages on this page. Now, this goes no further until a judge signs off on this. And the guy looked at her like, yeah, see, Stella would know that. That's why you got to have your attorney present. I don't care if you're innocent because you don't know these things. You just don't, you know? So he gets up and I guess he's going to try to get the judge's signature. And that's why they're still there. And Alexis is out, in the outer area while different people go in to see Stella. Because watch, he's going to come back and say the judge is unavailable and they're going to have to let Stella go. Watch. So anyway, Magdalena says, I see disaster coming with Stella being arrested. That was awful. Curtis is going to dig his heels in reference to Stella. There goes Marco double crossing Sonny. Really double crossed his daddy. I'm glad that Alexis told Sonny, uh, all about what Drew did. Brooklyn and Geo scene was good. There goes Sidwell, another disaster coming. Well, that's all for now. I'll keep tuning in. Blessings, Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. And Davette says, oh, wow, I had another one of those can't see the soap today. I was looking forward to your recap, wondering if you considered acting. I think you would really be good at it. You know what? I'm good at improv, right? Stuff coming to the top of my head. Give me a script that you want me to follow, and I'm thinking, well, I never say nothing like that. I'm bad at taking directions, y'all. But my daughter was a preteen through teenage actress from age 8 through probably 20. So I was definitely a stage mom for many years, y'all, many years. Oki says Spencer slash Jerome offspring should not be this slow. I need a DNA test on Lucas. Little Donna slash Ava has more sense. No, you mean it would be little Avery slash Ava. It's little Donna slash Carly has more street sense, street smarts than a doctor. Child, I cannot. Yeah, that would be Donna and Carly because Carly's her mama, not Ava. And then not so sure, but had a bunch of smiley faces, and so did Sewing Room. So great comment, great comment. All right, everybody, look, I'm already into 8 minutes into this, but yeah, one last comment. No, okay, I've read a bunch of yours. So have a great rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow with another daily recap of General Hospital.